So how to incorporate technology with the events? That is what is all hybrid events all about, and the new normal 2020. To take this forward, I would like to request uh, the Grover Audiovisuals, who have been the backbone of the complete event, to come forward. Mr. Abhishek Grover from Grover Audiovisual Services to share few words on designing digital experience and creating value to stakeholders. About Mr. Abhishek Kumar, he's a seasoned business leader and has been at the forefront of emerging audiovisual technologies for over more than 20 years. He has maneuvered through rapidly changing environment by leveraging core competencies and available skill sets. With outcome-oriented approach, he has curated several solutions for large-scale government and corporate events. His methodology can be best described as purpose-driven, people-centric, and game-changing. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Mr. Abhishek Kumar from Grover Audiovisual Services for this presentation. Warm welcome, sir, on the dais.
Good afternoon, everybody. So we are going into a very basic of the virtual and the digital experiences. So what we are going to talk today about is the digital experiences in the virtual world, as well as we are going to take a step backwards towards the physical space events. So as we see, initially the kind of events which we were going on were just a pure physical event which was there and with an experiential format to it. The next level, what we looked at currently was the virtual and the hybrid event which was post-COVID. What was there in the physical and the experiential events when we were doing it in the yesteryears, or I will just say pre-COVID? That was like a year back. So pre-COVID, the digital touch points were just limited to the event space and not having any other parameter to it. It was limited to the event space and a preset time parameter. How was the physical event done at that time? It was very linear. We had just the option of the thematic tracks, the number of attendees. We were just going by our business, whether it's a teaching objective or whether it's a promotional objective, and the distinct features in terms of the vision which was there. So this is how the physical events were working out for us. So this is the intent which we had, could not go beyond a tangible experience which was created via technology. So this is a photograph of an event of this very hall where we were able to create a 360-degree experiential event in a physical space. And this was very, very basic at that point of time in terms of linear events which were there. So instead of physical, I would say they were more of linear events which were turning out to be. So with the advent of the virtual event space, they pushed the digital events and the digitalization of the events ahead by around 10 years. How was the experience working out for us? The experience was such that they actually modified the complete dynamics of the whole user experience. The biggest challenge for any experiential events was that the user experience was different. Any of you watching me digitally today would be very easy to, it will be very easy for you to assimilate the information because this is what we've been doing. The user experience has changed now. How has the user experience changed? You can see a presentation today the way I'm talking to you, or you can see a pre-recorded talk. You would not feel different about it. Then you can have the on-demand or resource centers, which were earlier not there at all. So this is the basic paradigm shift of the virtual events which they created in the physical world, which was earlier not a part of our other basic events which were there. In terms of the keystone parameters for the virtual events, what was the difference? We never had options of chatting via video or text during the events. It was unheard of. We never had this kind of wide variety of speakers. We had Mr. Abbas connecting right now from here. We had several international speakers coming in. The demographic has increased for the speakers. In fact, I would like to say the demographic has increased for the audience as well. Many of you attending from different parts of the world never attended CIC at places which were very remote or places outside India. That is where the demographic has increased, and we've been able to assimilate that change. The event planning was one more thing, which actually changed from a 3-day, 2-day event to weeks of event. So we had an event which was going on for weeks. That's not possible in a physical space. What is the difference? The difference is that we are able to go beyond the time and space parameters which were there. The number of attendees also increased. In these last 4.5, 5 months, I have done several events which earlier in the physical space, I was doing for 2 days, 1,000 delegates. Now it is for 4 days, 5,000 delegates. The number of attendees has increased. The attention span has gone down. That is the difference which is there. People are attending for 15, 20 minutes when they were sitting all throughout the day. Many of you would have logged into the virtual space, may have just logged in 10 minutes back, or may have logged in the morning and then now logged in again. That's the difference which is there. Of course, the positive of this is that it is a much lower carbon footprint, and we are able to do events at a much shorter space of time, much longer events, and that is the basic difference. This created a set of problems. The branding problems. I see a lot of production people here, a lot of event team here. What was the difference? The difference was branding, how to do the branding. We were able to do the branding in the virtual space, which continued. I have a conference which just finished around 2 weeks back. The conference is still continuing today. The exhibition is still continuing today after the conference finished 2 weeks back. So that is the advantage of the branding in the physical space. The branding was taken down maybe minutes after the event was over. Now the branding and the ROI for the exhibitors, for the sponsors is much larger. The other disadvantage which was there, which we were able to actually overcome, was the attention span, the ability for people to actually enhance their experience was overcome by the factors of gamification in terms of polls, quizzes, various other activities which were online activities. And the number of polls, quizzes which we did in the physical event was again a 10x difference. Now every other virtual event I do an online poll and I do an online survey, which was not there in the physical event, maybe 1 or 2%. So what is now next coming to the hybrid events? How did it work out for us? From the second day of the unlock, we have started doing hybrid events. It was literally as soon as the unlock started, we actually started doing the hybrid events. What is a hybrid event? I consider hybrid event to be an Alice in Wonderland syndrome. And we are able to do the hybrid events and consider it to be a stepping stone in normalcy. However, the events will never be normal. What is the next step in difference? Whether it's an inauguration, whether, like to give you a case study, one of the events which we did was an actual inauguration of a big exhibition, which was done in the physical space. But once we did this exhibition, this was inaugurated in the physical space, and we were able to create an interactive point for people to touch base. So here again, we did another event which was there in the physical space, which was transmitted to various locations all over the country. And as you can see, the physical experience can never be changed. So we are creating this kind of touching stone where we are able to potentially achieve this kind of an experience which was there in the physical space, and this will be a stepping stone to getting back normalcy for the post-conference and post-COVID era for the conferences and events. How do we do these kind of hybrid events? Actually, this is one of the most important questions, and I will take a minute to maybe get an input from the virtual audience, from the physical audience which is there. How did we do the hybrid events and how it is possible? The first step actually is to do a pristine physical event setup. You cannot achieve a good hybrid event by doing an ad hoc physical event. The setup has to be pristine. The setup has to be exactly what it needs to be. Then the virtual conference platform needs to be integrated in such a way that the moment we need to talk to a virtual audience, we are able to do so, and how we're able to help our stakeholders in this. You see in the newspapers today, the Bihar elections are coming on, and we did a lot of interaction with the Election Commission of India to providing various events and various interaction points, from doing observer meetings to doing their pre-election meetings to doing foundation. So I will like to give you a story. How does a virtual or a hybrid event morph itself? So here, for one of the ministry events, we were asked to do a foundation laying stone where it was at a physical space. So they said, we just need a virtual conference and a virtual event where we'll do the launch. But it didn't end there. A week before the event, they said, we want to go to the building, which was somewhere in north of India. So that was one hybrid touch point. Then they said the minister is not available. Minister is somewhere in the south of India. So we connected the minister. Then they said, of course, the ministry is sitting at the seat of power in Delhi. We want to do the event here. So it were the 3 locations which were merged together, as well as 1,000 other participants which were connected virtually to create an immersive atmosphere where we were able to deliver a product which was okay for the government of India or okay for that ministry to do a launch. The basic parameters are very simple. We just need to mix them in terms of how can we be COVID ready for these kind of hybrid events. Everything from training our staff to doing online setups to doing the offline setups. How the offline setups are different. We don't need to do the setup one night before. We can do it, say, 5 days before or 2 days before. Many virtual events I'm doing this week, including this one. This is a hybrid event. I'm doing another hybrid event. We are doing setups 2 days, 3 days before, so that the equipment can be sanitized, the equipment can be quarantined. The less and less parameters of infections and parameters are going on. That is the basic difference in terms of doing long-term setups. The specialized equipment. We have voice-activated microphones. I got a WhatsApp message just now. We need to sanitize the mics every time after each session, which is absolutely correct. But at the same time, we don't need to touch the mics. The mics can be wireless and the mics can be voice-activated. Those are totally possible. The wireless connectivity of the laptops, these are basic, but these are very relevant. And these small things actually matter. So at the end of this presentation, I would like to put a little bit of nostalgia among all of you. And I would just like to say this, that the hybrid events will be a conduit of doing the physical events to come in future. And I hope this will hold a key to all those organizers and all those viewers who are seeing us in the online platform, that we will be back. And we will be back with a vengeance, as they say. And we will be able to create a better value for you in the short term, as well as step on to the pure physical events with the hybrid, which is going to continue for the next couple of years to continue. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Anybody has any questions? You can, yes.
I'm Dr. Sanjeev Laik, representing WASME. I have a question. You have got a very good presentation and differentiation between this physical as well as the digital and the hybrid. The most important part is that there are so many challenges in the digital platform. We are just focusing on the 4G or 5G talking about, but do you think there are so many challenges of the internet connectivity? We have been already facing all these things, disconnection, lots of problems are there. Electricity problem is also major issue. These are the 2 issues that they need to be addressed at very early stage, so that we can just move from physical to virtual, then the hybrid again. Thank you.
Yeah, Doctor, actually this is an extremely relevant question, and it's very basic. There are 2 distinct differences. I will actually give you an example of a medical conference I'm doing. It's called CELSICON. I am doing live surgery from 16 hospitals all over the country. It's going on as we speak. Why the bandwidth is relevant? Throughout the day, many doctors have actually experienced that live surgery on the virtual conference platform. And I would like to say the live surgery transmission is required to be far superior than the way I am talking to you. This can pixelate a little bit, but the live surgery can't. So when we do such events where live surgery can happen with the bandwidth which is available, we are very confident the normal conference and normal events can absolutely happen. This is from the back end at the server place. Now coming to the audience experience, as you rightly said, with the 3G and the 4G, and how we are able to accentuate it. I will go back to my example of one of the ministries. I am doing the relay of many polling stations at Bihar. So we are going into remote places like Purnia, like, outskirts of Patna, where we are able to connect them with the 4G, and we actually calculated how many districts in Bihar have 4G connections, and a very large number did. So even in the 3 lakh or 4 lakh odd delegates which we've encountered in the virtual events, very few have said that they have a problem in terms of bandwidth. But yes, there is a requirement for the bandwidth to be increased, the 4G connections to be increased. In terms of the venue, which you rightly said, now the bandwidth for the venue is like glasses of water which is kept outside, inside the foyer. That is how relevant the bandwidth now is. It's not something which we used to say in the earlier years that, the bandwidth is 2 Mbps, 3 Mbps. Now you need bandwidth in GBps for the transmitting venue. So which is a hurdle which the venues also need to take up with the service providers as well as the other service providers for the users as well. And I see with the advent of 5G coming in, we will be very, very secure in terms of the bandwidth allocations which are there, and that will be totally possible for us. Thank you. Anybody else, if you have any questions, or I will take up the online questions as well on the chat box. And that's basically everything. I think I'm holding you back between the last session, which is the virtual. So I will take you back and we can start the next session, and I see my time's also up. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for your patience. Thank you.